Welcome, welcome. Want to do something a little different today. Getting ready to go for a flight in Papua New Guinea, and I wanted to show y'all how I do my flight planning. And this, everybody has their own way to do it, so this is not the only way, but this is just my way of doing it. And I'm also utilizing free resources that that I didn't use before. Before I had Garmin Pilot and ForeFlight and others that you had to pay for a yearly subscription, which are well worth it. Don't get me wrong, and they're better for once you get into the cockpit and you have them on an iPad. But if you're sitting in front of a computer and you have a browser available, there's a ton of free resources to where you can have all that same information available to you and and be as realistic as you can be. So, all right, so let's switch over. So one of the main resources I use is Windy and SkyVector. So for this application, we're going to spend most of the time in Windy. Um, SkyVector is really good for flying in the U.S. Has all free charts, VFR, IFR, high altitude, low altitude charts available for you, but not real good for flying elsewhere in the world. And today we're in Papua New Guinea, so I found that Windy is actually pretty decent. I've actually it's funny. I came across Windy more as a just a personal radar, what are the winds aloft type application, and then I realized that it had a lot more depth to it. With it shows airports on here. It shows uh, pressure. It shows satellite imagery. Um, it shows cloud bases, fog predicted. I mean, it's amazing what this thing shows. So when you first load into the browser, you may have to click on things like down here, this airports. You may have to click on that to um, to have it show up, but play around with it, and you can also click on pressure as well. So there's some stuff you have to turn on and off. There's some layers you have to turn on and off, but it's pretty good. You could set it up the way you want it. You can also use this for boats as well. It has a lot of wave information, sea heights, water temperature, so it'd be nice for fishing and stuff like that if you do stuff down the coast. But for flying, I found this really interesting thing for flight planning, especially in Papua New Guinea, because there's a mountain range that runs across here that goes up to 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 feet. And it's very difficult for some of these airports right around the Kokoda Trail, knowing what altitude they're at, and what your cruising altitude should be to get there, and whatnot. And if you don't fly in this area a lot, it's tough to memorize it and just double check to see what you should be at as you're approaching the airport, as well as what type of aircraft to take for some of these. Especially as you get up over here, some of these you need a turboprop to get over these ranges, especially on a high or a very hot day. But so I was going to do a mission where I'm flying to 3 different airports, and so what you can do is you can right click and hit distance and planning, and then click on so I'm starting out at Port Moresby, flying to oh, the AYMA. Yep. Okay. So I'm flying to Minari. Minari. Then I'm gonna fly over to Ufogi, and then I'm gonna fly to Kokoda to get fuel. Okay. So you can see down here in the bottom, it shows that I'm starting out at basically at sea level. AYMA, or Minari, is altitude of around 2,300 feet, I believe. You can click on the airports and it'll pull up the information. It'll do that at the end. But you can see I got to get over a 3,700 foot range to get there. So my cruising altitude is going to be probably around the 4,000 to 4,500 range. But then to get over to a fogey, which is not far, I'm either going to have to go through the valleys or get up over 5,000 feet to get into a 3,700 foot runway. But then going over to Kokoda, I got to get up to 8,500 and above to get over that mountain range that I talked about. And you can see as I'm moving it along here that peak is going to be right around there. And you can see that peak near a fogey is real close to it. So I may be able to fly in this valley and get around to it. But this gives you a good reference point as well. And you can also, it pulls in weather, it pulls in some other stuff to it, so feel free to play around with it and see. You can see if I pull in VFR, it pulls in that I have clouds, I have some fog in the area. It shows the wind, not much wind. And it pulls in the visibility as well. That you have visibility of 11, 15, 21, 17, 15. But then when I get over Kokoda, it could be interesting. It says 5 nautical miles. So we'll see. So yeah, just wanted to show you kind of how I do it. You can click on the airports, go to runways info. So you see 2,630 feet is the elevation. Sometimes they show the length of the runway. These smaller runways, it doesn't. Fogey's at 2,630. Kokoda should be in the hundreds. It's still showing. Huh. Kokoda's at 2,630. Wow. It's a high valley in there. But I guess it's a big difference from 8,000 at the peak over here. But even the bigger airports, it has information on them. 146 feet. Has the runway information. It shows a METAR. You can see the visibility. That it's just pulling in that edge of that less than 10 nautical mile by Kokoda. So I had to see there's probably a fog layer in here. And it's not exact. This is a lot of predictions and weather modeling. So, take it for what it is. But just want to show that to you. Hope you find it beneficial and enjoy flying.